Good evening and welcome to the fourth round of this evening. Owen White would be with me, but he's not around here in Le Castellet, close to the city of Marseille. So we are about to begin with this one. And whilst we are waiting for everything to get on the way, we're going to take a brief mention. Puts him on 29 points. So still lots to play for with 7 more rounds to go, beginning at Paul Ricard. So after Paul Ricard, we go to Singapore next week, followed by Spa on the 8th of October, and then Silverstone, and then the Red Bull Ring on the 22nd. The penultimate round will be in Austin on the 29th of that month, and the final race of the season will be staged at Imola, providing that circuit is released in time on the 5th of November, but that will be a fitting way for a finale to settle the championship, should the championship still be alive in the prospect here. So what do the drivers make of the Paul Ricard circuit? So Josh Wilkins, who won last week, says you have to take, in regards to, is Paul Ricard a decent opportunity for him this week? He said that you have to take it as it comes. The last couple of races I've gone into with an open mind rather than an expectation. Well, I suppose that takes some of the pressure off his shoulders. Josh Wilkins aiming for back-to-back victories today. He was also asked, how will the weather affect your chances? He said, we've yet to have a wet race in prospect, so it would be nice to see how he's fast in the wet. So just looking to see who else also replied to some pre-race interview questions. Well, Mackie, I say Mackie. Just looking to see who else also responded to this week's questions. We'll go to Jason, actually, who's basically responded to the Paul Ricard, the same question as what Josh Wilkins came out. He said that he thinks that he can fight back with a good result. He thinks that the pace in the race looks quite good. As you know now, qualifying is always going very well for him. Although it is actually not one of my strengths. So I think Jason will be going into the Paul Ricard round seemingly in a bit of limbo. And also Jamie Met feels that the Paul Ricard circuit is a track where he thinks he can really move up nicely and keep his reputation of getting no corner cut penalties. And he also quite like the circuit, as the third sector is fun when you nail it. So last week saw no incidents reported from the prospect here, which is good to see. Contrast to the week before, where out of all 5 tiers in one hub racing, the prospect tier had the most incidents reported for Bahrain, but for Hungary, it's a totally different matter. No incidents were reported then, which is good to see. And some notes to take from the stewards in regards to escape roads. Now, Paul Ricard is a high-speed track with lots of room to battle, but cars can still get pinched on the edge of the circuit. If you feel like an incident is unavoidable, it might be smarter to take the escape road and give the position back to the other driver. There is lots of room to go wide or cut a corner to avoid an incident and to take avoiding action. This might be a smart move on the opening lap in the opening corners, where a lot of drivers will be side by side. If you picked up a warning by doing so, record it and record your race director footage, which is necessary. The stewards are able to remove this warning penalty if they do have enough footage to confirm the driver didn't gain any advantage. Failing providing enough footage will result in the stewards not being able to remove your warning or penalty. Now, some of the action zones, which is turns 1 and 2, otherwise known as Verdi, as I've mentioned in the lap guide that was uploaded before the race today, as well as turn 7 and turn 10. Now, turn 7 is just on the exit of, well, the beginning of where the Mistral Straight is, and turn 10 is where the fast right-hander of Scene is picked up. So lots to look forward to, and expect to see plenty of action, with there being 2 DRS zones, one of which on the Mistral Straight between turn 7 and 8, the other on the pit straight. So in regards to the driver's press conference, Josh Wilkins also responded to the question, and he answered it actually with, I think he took it with I think he was pinching himself actually when he, put together a quote saying, "Josh Wilkins, the season 19 One Hub Racing Prospect Tier champion, sounds good to me." Well, it shows how confident he has been. He was rather unlucky in Bahrain a couple of weeks back because he had a victory denied thanks to a penalty, so as long as he keeps his car penalty-free, he's got a good chance of taking victory. In regards to hot and cold, in the prospect here, well, Wace was has had a pretty consistent season so far, and coming off a podium, is he about to mount his assault on championship contention? Well, that was Owen who pointed that out during the event. Now, Storm Kings in the cold list, actually, several drivers could have had this last week, but unfortunately for Storm, it is he who needs to improve his form, and I couldn't agree more. I did mention Jess last week as well on my cold list, as I felt she had too many spins in comparison to the others, and she didn't look like anywhere near in contention of challenging for points. Although she, just looking to see where she ended up last week, she did not finish in the points at all, so it's a redemption time for her, no question. In regards to rivalries, now in the prospect here, Jamie Metz and TJW. So Jamie Metz in the McLaren and TJW in the Aston Martin. It's interesting to see the progress of any prospect here driver. Now from TJW's perspective, Jamie had some time off from racing, but should he have bothered coming back? Jamie responds saying, what does TJW have to do to take that next step? So that's another thing to consider. So keep an eye out on those two battling out on circuit. They did have quite a ding-dong battle in Hungary. And bearing in mind, Jamie Metz also came back on the soft compound in the final 6 laps, as he needed to pit twice in the race. That's one of the things. You have to take at least 2 pit stops in a race within One Hub Racing. That makes race strategy easier for the drivers, and they can afford to go hammer and tong. And expect that to be the same here at Paul Ricard. We're not going to be seeing any one-stoppers at all, even it is a wet race. They do have to pit at least twice. They can use an earlier pit stop than planned to make a front wing replacement. That does count as a pit stop. So all is not lost if a driver does have to pit earlier than usual. And Jamie responded in his rivalry. He thinks with TJW, saying he thinks he has the potential to fight at the front, but what he's noticed is a lot of unforced errors, like his multiple spins. We'll just run through more of the rivalry stuff. Receive an invite from the glitches or bugs or connection issues throughout the next hour and a quarter. Well, the drivers are either in the pits or on their outlaps. So Buzzer in the AlphaTauri, for those who have been commenting and rooting for Buzzer. So who is on a flying lap right now? Well, they're all about to, well, for Matthias in the Haas has just started his now. So let's see how Matthias gets on here, as he's the first driver to go through for a flying lap. We'll ride on board with him actually as he goes through the hotel chicane. And then for the right-hander of Camp, through turn 6, how wide does he take it? Not too wide. They had to lift off the throttle to make sure he stayed within the confinements of the racetrack. Down the Mistral Straight with DRS. Now where does he position himself? For turn 8, he gets through there just about fine. That was very nearly an invalidation actually from the tyres, but got away with it. And now as he heads towards Scene, he should go flat out through here in the dry. Yep, no need to lift off the throttle there. And now he heads towards Debose. Rides the curb. through Galaban, and now Tor, the left-hander, and then the last braking spot of the lap is Pont. So that's the 15th and final corner of this configuration of Paul Ricard. Over the line comes Matthias to post a 1:30.8. So that's the benchmark for all those to beat out there. And just looking to see who is going faster than him at the moment. It doesn't seem to be anyone at the moment. I know Smithy Chris is just about to complete a lap in the AlphaTauri. He's got an Alpine in front of him, which will be Storm, I'd reckon. Or is that Jess going over the line? I think it's Storm, actually. But Smithy going over the line on the mediums to 1:32.0 for him. There's Luke Red off the track in the Haas. So hopefully he'll be wanting to get out of there anytime soon. So Mackie in the Red Bull. I think his teammate's going over the line, which is infamous. He posts a 1:34.6, which is not as representative as of yet. Mackie in the Red Bull on the soft compounds. He's aiming for a good result today. So Mackie with only 10 points to his name, no podiums. Over the line to go fourth quickest, 1:32.5 for him. Joa in the Mercedes. He's gone over the line. I think he's in place of Hawkins, actually. He's gone second on 1:31.8. And let's go to Buzzer, because he's about to cross over the line. His lap time's been invalidated though, so he may as well come away from it. And Josh Wilkins is also crossing over the line to post the fastest time, 1:30.2. And Alex Lilliart has posted the fastest second sector time of anyone on the lap he's on, as he's come towards the last corner now. Rearing open, and Alex will go over the line. It's not going to be the fastest of all. It's a 1:31.0, goes third. So far, it's Wilkins from Matthias, Alex, Joa, and Smithy Chris. Jess has posted a 1:32.9, which puts her 7th at the moment. Jason's on, well, his lap time's been invalidated so far, so we'll come away from him. Anyone on fast laps at the moment? Well, driver in 10th place, that is Luke Red. I thought he was on a flying lap, but it doesn't look as though he actually is. So come away from him. And Storm appears to be on a better lap than before. His lap time is an unrepresentative one, so that's why he's going a lot quicker here than he did so last time. So Storm aiming for a better qualifying here than he did so in Hungary. I mean, in Hungary he was 15th on the grid. I don't think he set a lap time though, did Storm, so this is a race where he needs to do well. He was on the cold list for Hungary, so it's redemption time here most certainly, as is for his teammates Jess. And Storm taking a wide line through the penultimate turn and heading down the pit straight with DRS. Where is this going to put him? Well, it's not going to put him fastest by any means. It's a 1:32.8, puts him 7th. So who else is on a flying lap right now? Infamous is on a flying lap in the Red Bull. Or so he was, but he's gone back into the pits now. TJW in the Aston Martin. He's on the Mistral straight. So what can TJW do here? He had a good run until he crashed out on the last lap, actually, which cost him a good haul of points. He crossed the line 12th in the end, which was enough to give him just the 1 point, but he had hoped for a lot more. There's more room for error here in Paul Ricard, so if he does make a mistake, it's unlikely that it'll hit the barrier. Just about kept his car within the track limits there. I was surprised that the lap time wasn't invalidated. Well, he takes the wide line through Pont, which is the correct line to take. Rear wing open. Goes over the line to post a 1:31.3. That puts him up to 5th place. So what can he do from here? Well, Jamie's gone up to 3rd with his 1:30.9. And now we'll watch Lutzered coming through in the Haas. So down the start finish straight he comes. Lutzered over the line. It's going to be a 1:31.0. That's good enough to put him 5th. Just 5 thousandths shy of Alex in 4th position. Now Fozzie Bear, the championship leader, going very strong this season so far. Although Hungary was his worst result of the season, it was a 4th place finish. It was quite a topsy-turvy event. So it's been a 1st, a 2nd and a 4th for Fozzie Bear this season so far, which has not only helped him go into the race as the championship leader, but it's also helped the teams as well. Well, for Ferrari that is, who are 25 points clear over their nearest rivals Alfa Romeo, with McLaren another 26 adrift in 3rd place. Fozzie Bear over the line for Ferrari, 1:31.1 for him, only good enough to put him in 6th place, so he's nearly a whole second shy of Wilkinson's provisional pole position time. Jason is also on a fast lap in the Ferrari. We'll go to Jess next because she's about to post a better time than the first. She didn't take the best line through Bendor, but what can she find in the remainder of this lap? It's not a very good line. It's a really poor line into the last turn. So Jess needs to clearly work on her lines a little bit more here. And this is not going to be better than before. It is actually, but she's definitely lost time in the last sector, so she'll definitely be aiming for an improvement from that. Jason, over the line for Ferrari, goes up to 2nd place on a 1:30.8. So he's nearly 6 tenths away from Wilkins, but his time is good enough to put him on the front row for now. So Infamous on a better lap than before, although his time was on the medium compounds. And looks like one of the Mercedes has gone over the line. That's Joa, who's gone up to 4th place on a 1:30.9. So it's a good lap from him. What about the AlphaTauri of Smithy? His lap time's been invalidated. So we go back to Infamous now. Exiting the last turn, rear wing open, down the start finish straight. And it's a 1:31.9 for Infamous. That's good enough to put him up to 10th place. So 3 drivers still yet to set a time at the moment. They are Stephen, Wace and Buzzer. Now Matthias is on an improvement by Sector 2. He's posted the fastest 2nd sector time out of anyone so far. So he heads to Garlaban and now Tor. And then the last corner, turn 15, Pont. Takes a good line through there, although he's missed the apex slightly. Rear wing open, this is going to be a better time than before for Matthias to put him back on the front row. And it's a 1:30.6. He did lose time in the last sector. He was able to displace Jason once again. So Chris in the AlphaTauri, currently 11th at the moment. He did his earlier time on the mediums. Gets a nice drive coming out of the last turn, but I think he may be off the pace from where he needs to be here. It's a better time. He stays 10th actually, but I can imagine he lost time in the last sector. So Buzzer on a flying lap in the AlphaTauri. We've got over 4 minutes remaining. So there's plenty of time for one last effort from these drivers. And Buzzer will want to be getting a time on the board. Now, he did compete in Bahrain, although the majority event was controlled by the AI, so his points won't have been allocated to him. And now he heads to turn 12. And Jason's on an improvement actually in the Ferrari, but he's gone into the pits. So who else is out there on a lap at the moment? Well, Buzzer is about to cross over the line to complete his first lap time. There's one of the Hassers going into the pit lane. That was Matthias. Buzzer over the line to go up to 10th place with a 1:31.4. Nice effort from him. Wace is next behind in the Mercedes. We expect him to be in the top 5 for the grid. And this uptime of his does put him up to 8th only. So more time to be found for him, for sure. I'm not sure if he's going to have enough time to head into the pits and come back out again. Having said that, he's just gone through the escape roads in order to help himself get back to the pits as quickly as he can. Now, I'm not sure if the stewards will be at all pleased with this, if I'm honest with you, because they know that he's going to be gaining time by just cutting the corners. So he's going through the chicane there, desperate to get back to the pits as quickly as possible. He's got an AlphaTauri ahead of him that's just going through Deboso, so he needs to be careful not to rejoin the track into the path of him if he's going to just continuously take shortcuts. He's not going to have time, to be honest with you. He's done very well to get that car slowed down to the box. So TJW and Jamie Met are out on circuit. Buzzer has had enough of qualifying, so he'll start outside the top 10, but the good news for him is that he'll start on whatever compound he likes. Stephen won't be going back on track won't be heading back out on track either. So TJW aiming for an improvement from 10th place. So it's Wilkins, Matthias, Jason, Joa and Jamie Metz. Your top 5 so far. And I think Jamie Metz has made a mistake on his lap, so he should move out of the way. He will get over the time in line, over the line in time, I should say. Muddle up on my words there. So TJW going through past the McLaren. And Storm retiring in the pits. And TJW coming towards turn 15. Now, where is this lap going to put him here? It's a 1:30.9, and he goes up to 5th. So it's a good effort there from TJW. Who else is out on track now? Well, Jamie Met is about to start his final attempt. And Smithy coming over the line to start his last attempt as well, as is Alex. Now, is Matthias going to get over the line before the checkered flag? Yes, he does. Only just, though. So the checkered flag has fallen. So all those on flying laps will be able to complete theirs. We'll go to Infamous first, because he'll be the first one over the line. He's got a Ferrari behind him as well. Not sure which one it is. Looking at the sector times, Jason's posted the fastest sector, the first sector time of anyone. Or the fastest time of anyone in the first sector. Infamous is on a personal best through sectors 1 and 2, so this is most certainly going to be an improvement from him. Can he break into that top 10 here? He crosses over the line, goes up to 11th place. Fozzie Bear's next behind, goes up to the front row. So Fozzie Bear moves up to 2nd place. We've got the other Red Bull crossing over the line, that's Mackie. Doesn't improve. Josh over the line to improve, 1 minute 30.1. So he improved by nearly 0.2 of a second to go to provisional pole position, extend his margin over everyone else. What about the Alpines? Jess is coming over the line, her lap time's been invalidated, so we'll come away from her. Jamie Met is on a final lap as well. Jason crossing over the line for Ferrari, goes up to 2nd. We'll go back to Jamie. He improves to 5th. So that's an improvement from him. Smithy for AlphaTauri has improved a lot actually. Goes up to 3rd place. Great effort from him. So Smithy up into the top 3. As Alex goes up to 7th place. Matthias has ducked into the pits. And that brings the curtain down on this qualifying session. So Josh Wilkins on pole position for apologies for that, my controller decided to disconnect. But just a rundown, so Josh Wilkins on pole position. I was just going to say where he lined up in Hungary. He lined up on the front row in 2nd position. But this time it's pole here at Paul Ricard. So here's your grid then for the French Grand Prix. Josh Wilkins on pole ahead of Jason alongside. Then it's Smithy and Fozzie Bear on the 2nd row. Matthias and Jamie make up row 3 ahead of Alex and Joa on the 4th row. TJW and Luke's Red Brown at the top 10. Then it's Wace and Infamous on row 6. Buzzer and Mackie on the 7th row. Storm and Jess make up an all-Alpine row 8. Stephen never set a time in the Williams. So that for Wilkins, I think that may be his first pole position this season. Just looking to see on his record in one hub racing. It's his first one actually, by the looks of things. And that's 4 races out of 4 where he's qualified in the top 3. A very consistent season for him. So just waiting for the drivers to complete their last minute race of their tyres and fuel setups. Now the top 10 will start on the soft compound because they've all set their fastest times on them. Do keep an eye on penalties as well, because that could come into play in deciding the race as well, especially if we get a safety car or something like that. And so the formation lap will begin for the drivers. We'll have a look to see who is starting on what. So the top 10 all starting on the softs, as is Mackie in 14th, the others on the mediums. Now, whatever happens, each and every driver has to make at least 2 pit stops. So I would expect those on the mediums to go on a longer first stint and put on the softs for the remaining 2 stints. So 27 lap race, 50% race distance of what is like in Formula 1. It would be a 53 lap race in real life Formula 1. It's 27 in one hub racing. Paul Ricard, named after the man himself who helped put together this racetrack that's located in the coast of Marseille in Le Castellet. He's had some stints in hosting Formula 1 races in the 70s, in the 80s. And then after the last one they had in 1990, it had an 28-year hiatus after the French Grand Prix moved over to Magny-Cours, and then we had no French Grand Prix for 10 years. And then in 2018, France was back on the calendar at this racetrack. Hosted races in 18 and 19. No race in 2020 due to the pandemic, but it was able to host a race in 2021. It's uncertain whether it will be on the calendar in 2022, as there are rumours of a possible replacement for it at Imola in its slot in June. So just another mention of our sponsors of Next Level Racing, who sponsor the league by providing an NLR Direct Drive stand to One Hub Racing's Driver of the Season award. 3M Sim Racing, who sponsor the league by providing a pair of their sim racing gloves to the driver, the most combined total of pole positions and fastest laps. And the partners of Vespertine, who partnered One Hub Racing to support the championship prizes. And ERT, who partner One Hub Racing with the Going Gets Tough award. So we're just waiting for Stephen to make up the grid, and they'll be raring to go for this 27-lap race in the Prospect tier in One Hub Racing. So Josh Wilkins on pole, Jason alongside him in second place. There's Smith in the AlphaTauri and Fozzie Bear in the second Ferrari in fourth place. Everyone is in position then. We are raring to go for this 27-lap French Grand Prix. The 5 red lights appear in front of the drivers. It's lights out, and away we go. The top two react brilliantly, but it's the AlphaTauri of Smithy who reacts even better than the top two. He gets into second place ahead of the Ferraris. So Wilkins stays in the lead with Smithy in second place. There's Jason in third, ahead of Fozzie Bear and Alex. And then we've got the Mercedes and the McLaren. There's a spinner in the background. One of the Mercedes has gone for a spin. It's Waits. So both Mercedes in trouble already. So Wilkins stays in the lead with Smithy up to second place, with Jason and Fozzie Bear next behind. It's Alex, Matthias, TJW, Lutered, Buzzer and Mackie rounding out your top 10 so far. So the drivers heading towards the Mistral straight they go, with Wilkins keeping hold of the lead, but we're right on board with Smithy, who's closing in behind, with Jason trying to get into the slipstream of him, but Smithy was able to break the toe and keep hold of his second position. Now we look to see who was involved in that. It looks like Yoa has been caught up in that. Now I wonder if any of the drivers have got front wing damage. Just looking to see on the telemetry, and yes, Wace and Storm have got broken front wings, so Storm has also got caught up in some first lap mayhem. He may have tipped Wace round actually, so it could well be just those two with front wing damage, but there was definitely Jamie Met and Yoa who got caught up at turn 2, and both of them have fallen to the back of the pack. So Wilkins coming towards the end of the first lap, but he's got Smithy all over the back of him. Smithy having a cracking first lap so far, looking for a move, and he may be able to complete a switchback actually and get more speed than the Alfa Romeo going down the start-finish straight. So we complete the first lap with Wilkins fending the AlphaTauri, who goes to the inside as they go into turn 1. Wilkins stays ahead, but he runs wide. Smithy may be able to get a better line coming out of turn 2 here, but he's having to lift off the throttle to avoid contact with Josh. And now he's got the Ferrari side by side with him. So Jason diving to get side, contact made! And Jason goes off into the runoff area. And he's got damage to the left side of his front wing, so Jason will be ducking into the pit shortly. Wilkins had to take evasive action as he's been given a corner cutting penalty as well. So Wilkins in trouble already with that penalty. Jason most certainly is going to be coming into the pits, I would reckon, at the end of this lap. So Josh having to fend off the cars behind. Smithy cuts in the corner there by the looks of things. Just look to see who is making up place behind. Well, Lutered has just come into the pits at the end of lap 1 for repairs, obviously. Wace also in. But Storm has decided to stay out for now as he started the race on the mediums. So Smithy staying in touch with Wilkins at the moment, with Fozzie Bear in third place. Jason's dropping back from this lot. He's got Mackie going side by side with him. He's going to get through here, no question. So Jason will be ducking into the pits at the end of the second lap to get a new front wing fitted on, providing he gets the car slowed down in time, which he does so. So Zeros being enabled now. Matthias with the fastest lap so far. And Joa looking to make a move here on Jess for 13th position. So Jason having another forgetful race so far. He's got a mountain to climb to rescue anything from this one. So with the DRS enabled, you can see Smithy opening the rear wing to get that straight line spin advantage to close in on Wilkins. He's got no one in front of him, hence why he's not got the DRS. Wilkins with another penalty now for track limits, so Wilkins needs to stop getting track penalties, track limit penalties so far. That's 6 seconds for him. He may have a case on the first one with Jason that forced him to go off track, but I think the track limits one after that probably won't be disputed. So Wilkins less than a second clear at the moment over Smithy, so Smithy's still going to have the DRS on the pit straight. He's also got Fozzie Bear behind him. And now they come towards turn 1 as they begin the 4th lap of this. It won't be too long before we do see pit stops. So Infamous in 9th place, tussling with Stephen actually. He's made it good ground. He started 17th. He's made his way up to 9th place. Mackie goes for a spin though in the Red Bull. He avoids the Williams and his teammate. He needs to be careful. Oh, he nearly took out the McLaren as he rejoined. His car would have been ghosted, but that's certainly not a good way to rejoin the racetrack into the path of other drivers. So back to the battle for the lead as Smithy closes in on Wilkins, but he's not going to be close enough to have a go into turn 8. So he waits behind once more. So Buzzer in 7th place so far in the AlphaTauri's made a clean start to this one. Jess getting ahead of Storm to go up into 11th as Joa gets a penalty for track limits. So Smithy behind Wilkins at the moment. Both started on the soft compound. Buzzer's the highest of those that started on the mediums, so he's looking very good at the moment. Infamous with a penalty now for track limits. And does Chris go into the pit? So that's early to make a pit stop actually. He ran wide. He thought, you know what, I'm just going to take the opportunity to pit in. So Smithy is the first of the leaders to come in. He should rejoin ahead of Jason. So he's going to have a lot of clear track ahead of him. Now what compound of tyre is he going to go on? He's going to go onto the mediums. Joa also in, as is Mackie. So it'll be interesting to see how those on the mediums, how far they decide to go before they come in for the soft compound. Now, if they're going to go something like 15 laps on them, maybe not that many, then they'll be potentially doing 6 laps on one set of softs and 6 laps on another set of softs. We're going to go for the battle of the leaders. Fozzie Bear with DRS is about to pull alongside Wilkins into the Mistral chicane, and that's him taking the lead. So Fozzie Bear in front of the Alfa Romeo. But we do expect the Alfa Romeo to fight back because he's going to have DRS potentially on the pit straight. You can see TJW right behind the Haas of Matthias as they go through Scene. He thought of going to the inside, but wisely backed out of it as Weiss gets a track limits penalty of 3 seconds. Jason is the one that's posted the fastest lap of the race so far, I believe. He's currently in 13th place. And now we're seeing the top 4 coming in together, as Alex remains out there for the time being. He knows his teammates in, so Alex having to do another lap on the old soft compound rubber. Buzzer goes through into 2nd place, as does Stephen and Infamous. Jamie also going past. Just also going through. So Fozzie Bear rejoins in 9th place behind Smithy. So Smithy's able to get ahead of Fuzzy Bear and Wilkins. So that's a crucial undercut from Smithy. And now he'll go after Storm. He'll be conserving his tyres or just basically hammering it. There shouldn't be such thing as conserving tyres in one hub racing, because you're meant to do two pit stops regardless of what your strategy is. And Joe has gone for a spin. He's already done a lap on the mediums and he's not having a good race so far. So 2 Mercedes cars at the back of the field. So Alex continuing to lead the race at the moment. What compound is he going to go on though? I doubt he's going to go onto the hards. So I would think he's probably going to go onto a similar strategy to what the leaders are doing. Smithy gets ahead of Storm to go up into 7th place on the road. So Alex is in, gets the car slowed down in time. So Bazza will have a stint at the front. And Jamie also in for McLaren. So Bazza remains in the lead. Stephen now second as Infamous with DRS behind in 3rd place. So Fossibert able to get through on Alex Ilya, as does Wilkins, as Alex rejoins behind his teammate. And now we can see Fossibert making a move to go up into 6th. Crucial overtake there as Smithy closes in on Jess. Now, will he have the DRS on the Mistral straight? I wonder. He should do, because he's most certainly going to have DRS here. Here we go, look. DRS open, but he's not using the ERS to close in. To be honest, he doesn't really need to, because he's got more grip in his tyres than Jess anyway, and he's a faster driver. Wilkins gets past Storm without an issue, and Alex will be looking to follow suit and get past the Alpine before they get to scene. And Alex is through. So Alex Ilya through and up into 8th place. Plenty of overtaking so far, which is good to see. All 17 drivers still running in this race. Buzzer leads as Matthias gets a penalty now for track limits. Stephen just over a second behind him as Buzzer goes off the track. I wonder if he picks up a warning for that by cutting across. So clean overtake so far. Stephen has just posted a new fastest lap. Having said that, Alex has just, I think, has just taken that away. Well, he's posted his own personal best lap of this one. We'll come on to the fastest laps later. There's Jess in 5th place. She's been overtaken by Smithy, and now she'll have Fuzzy Bear right on her tail as the pair of them make their way through the Mistral straight. DRS open on Fuzzy Bear. Lutz-Red gets a time penalty for track limits as the Ferrari goes past the Alpine, and he's through into 5th position. So Alpine not having the best of races so far, although both of their cars are still yet to pit yet. Jess currently running in 6th place on the road, but she'll fall way back once she does eventually come in. We're approaching 1/3 race distance. Buzzer doing a great job so far, with clear track ahead of him. No one to really fight with at the moment, apart from Stephen, who's over a second adrift. Someone's gone for a spin. It's Matthias in the Haas. He's gone off at turn 12 and 13. That's Van Noy. He rejoins in 11th place. So whilst he may have had a good qualifying, Matthias is on the back foot already in this one. And now we see Alex going past. Jess has also got in front of Josh actually as well. So Alex having a good second stint so far. Josh not as good. But I have to say, the driver on my hot list at the moment for today is Smithy. No penalties so far, and he's in great command, in great control of this one to potentially go on and win it. His teammates out in front though, as Wilkins gets past Jess now to go up into 7th place. TJW following suit. I think Jess deliberately just moved out of the way actually. She knows she's not in this fight. So Jason, the race winner of Australia, is in 13th place right now on the road behind Jamie Met. Jason making contact with Wilkins on the second lap at the hotel chicane, hence why he had to make an earlier pit stop than scheduled. This is not what he needs. I mean, there's only 10 races in this championship of season 19. And this is round 4, so he can't afford to be having too many races like this one. We go to Singapore next week, which would be a more challenging circuit for the drivers, a street circuit as well with 23 turns. A 5-kilometre circuit as well. And Storm into the pits for his first pit stop for Alpine. And he'll rejoin in last place. So Smithy. Has pulled away crucially now from Fuzzy Bear. Although Fuzzy Bear is close in a little bit, but he's not within DRS range right now. Jason's moved up a position because of Storm's pit stop. So the next one ahead of him is Jamie Met. And Jason didn't come away with any points last week in Hungary. He only managed a 13th place finish because of penalties that he picked up. Now with Fozzie Bear in 5th place, that would net him 10 championship points. The gap at the top would see his lead over 2nd place Josh Wilkins increase. Now Wilkins is in 7th place right now, which would give him 6 championship points. So Fozzie Bear would extend his lead by 4. And with Smithy in 2nd place now, because he's just come into the pit. 3 drivers have come into the pits. Buzzer, Infamous and Jess. So Stephen is the only driver left in this race now who's not pitted. So those who've just come into the pits have gone into another set of mediums, so they will go onto a set of softs later on. Whereas I think Stephen is going to try and lengthen the stints so that he can do 2 stints of the soft compound. But I think he needs to do at least 5 more laps on the mediums that he's on. He's not battling with anyone at the moment, and he's got track position, so this is a good opportunity for him to open up a margin and actually pull away from these guys. So Wilkins up to 5th place now. So I think once Stephen does come into the pits, we'll have more of an idea as to how the championship would look if the standings were to remain as well. As you can see, Alex deliberately letting his teammate go through. He knows that Wilkins is higher up in the standings, and he needs to close in on Fuzzy Bear, who's just ahead of him in 3rd place. So that's good team honours there from the Alfa Romeo team. Off track, although that was a glitch actually. It looked like we just went straight on at turn 12, but no, it was a glitch with the game itself. And Luke Red is the first driver to retire. He's crashed out on the exit of scene, and we've got a VSC. Now, that has just been upgraded to a safety car, so that plays into the hands of Stephen. Now, he's just gone past the safety car at the moment before the white line where the pit exit is. But this is going to most certainly prompt some drivers to enter the pits. Well, Buzz has just come back in a lap after he's pitted. GJW has gone back out on track now on another set of the medium compound. Buzzer, what tyres is he going to put on? I reckon he's going to have to put on the hards, actually. There's no way he'll go onto the soft compounds in the end. Jason also in. He'll be relieved to see the safety car. Waste, Mackie, Yoa, Jess, and presumably Storm will all be coming in. Now, Stephen needs to be careful he does not exceed the delta. Otherwise, it will be a drive-through penalty, of which he can't take under the safety car. So this is very much changing things now. Stephen, who started at the very back of the grid, is going to potentially lead the race on the restart. Now, the thing is, he's got to pit twice in this race, so it may not play into his hands because he's not pitted yet. So in actual fact, this is not good news for him. He's just slowing down to make sure he does adhere to the delta. Oh, he gone for a spin though. He's caught the curb and he's gone for a spin. Now, can he rejoin before the AlphaTauri goes past? The answer is no. So Smithy's through into the lead. That was a costly error that from Stephen. So he's fallen to second place behind the AlphaTauri now. Now, Smithy, with him already pitted in this race, is started on the softs, on the mediums, and he's probably going to go on to the hard tyre to get to the end of the race to make sure. It is the hard tyre. And it's soft tyres for Stephen, which is no surprise. So he will have a huge tyre advantage over Smithy on the restart. Fozziber's rejoined on mediums. Wilkins also on mediums. Alex gets out in 5th place. He hasn't lost any positions with him having to wait behind his teammate, actually. Matthias coming into the pits as well for Haas. Rejoins behind TJW. He's able to leapfrog Alex now. So he goes off into 5th place. So your race order is that Smithy leads on the hard compound with Stephen 2nd. Fozziber is 3rd. Wilkins 4th. TJW in the Aston Martin is in 5th. Alex in 6th. Matthias 7th. Jamie Mer 8th. Buzzer 9th. And Jason in the top 10 for Ferrari. So in case you want me to give you a drive on the cold list at the moment. To be fair, Jess hasn't done too bad of a job on the mediums. I mean, she did get out of the way of other drivers, but she's not really fought with the field at the moment. I mean, Yoa has had a really mediocre performance after his shenanigans earlier in the first few laps, and he's already picked up 3 seconds of time penalty. So for now, at least, he will be on my cold list. But don't be surprised if that changes by the end of the race. So it's likely we'll be under the safety car for one more lap. Now this is going to favour those on the mediums. Now, to be fair, with a lot of the fuel in the tanks being burnt up, not as much load will be put into the tyres. Now they're going to be on lighter fuel loads, unlike in the race. Well, of course, the more load you put into the tyre, the more wear it causes. Now, Storm has been penalised for track limits. That's a really silly error. It's a really silly penalty to get. He's going to be catching the back of the field anyway. So we are going around for one more lap. So Smithy in the lead. Fozziber in 2nd place ahead of Stephen. So Stephen has lost 2 positions. So he's got a lot of work to do actually. He needs to dispose of these 2 and pull away before he does come in for his 2nd and final stop. I'm just looking to see who else needs to pit again. It's just Stephen who needs to pit again. So we'll be seeing one more pit stop from Stephen before the race is over. But don't be surprised to see Fozziber having a go on Smithy as well, as these 2 will be battling over the race victory. Bearing in mind, Smithy does have a time penalty of 3 seconds, of which will be added at the end of the race. Only 6 drivers out of the 16 remaining do not have a penalty at all to their names. Fozziber, Stephen, Alex, Jamie, Mackie and Jess. So just another run down season. Side by side with the Ferrari. Will Josh Wilkins get the better of the pair of them as they go into scene? Side by side they go. And the bollard gets hit. And Wilkins has lost ground actually. And Stephen goes through into second place. So Fosseyberg's lost 2 positions in a space of a few corners. So it's not a good restart so far for Fosseyberg. But remember, Wilkins does have a penalty of his own. And, oh, Smithy's off the track. Smithy's off the track at turn 12. That's a bad mistake there from the race leader who's done everything right. But he's thrown it all away and he's fallen out of the top 10. So Stephen takes the lead of the race. This was the scenario he had hoped for on the restart. So he needs to start pulling away from these guys now and open up a margin before he comes in for his final pit stop. Infamous and Storm into the pits for repairs. There's no DRS for the first 2 laps of the restart, so Stephen has a chance to pull away from these guys before he comes in for his final pit stop. So Wilkins may decide to wait until the DRS is enabled, but he won't want Fozzie Bear on his tail for when the DRS does get enabled. Wilkins will want to get on with this now. Won't do it through turn 8. He's too far back to do it from there. But he may be able to do it from turn 9. Now, will he use the ERS on the exit? Yes, he will. Stephen will want to go defensive here. He goes to the right, and wisely so. Forces Wilkins to go the other side. And now through to Bose they come. So Stephen remains in front as Alex looks to try and get in front of TJW. Got a better exit coming out of turn 12. He may be able to pull alongside through Garliban, but Alex wisely backed out of it. Now, can he take a wider line and get more exit speed onto the start-finish straight? ERS being used on the Alfa Romeo into the slipstream. Wilkins with a new fastest lap. But we expect that to come down from when Stephen does come in for his final stop to go onto the soft compound. Contact made between Waze and Matthias. And Jason now with another penalty to his name as we watch Smithy think about having to go on Jamie into the hotel chicane, but wisely backs out of it. Now with him on the hard tyres, he may have more grip at the end of the race than what he has so now. We'll go back to the battle for the lead though, as TJW has just gone for a spin actually, so we'll come to him in a moment. But we're watching Wilkins go for a move on the inside of Stevens as they approach the Mistral chicane. And Wilkins, does he take the lead here? Yes, he does! So Wilkins takes the lead on the road from Stephen, who drops to second place. Wilkins does have a penalty of 6 seconds actually, so that's quite a big penalty for Wilkins that he needs to open up on the rest of the field in order to win this race. But Stephen knows he hasn't got anything to lose. If he could just stay in touch with him within DRS range, he may be able to get back into the race lead again, but he's just having to lift off the throttle as they go through to Bose. So Wilkins into the lead once again, and Stephen cuts in the corner there blatantly. You won't want to be doing that too often, mate. So Fozzie Bear a second behind, or within a second, of the Williams as they come up to complete lap 17. 10 to go in the precision tier of One Hub Racing at Paul Ricard. Now Stephen will be on those softs for a few more laps yet. I would say he needs to do at least 3 more laps before he comes in for his final stop. Now if we do get another safety car, that will play into his hands. Now he should be within DRS range still. Stephen, he runs wide though on the exit of 6. So DRS being used Throws back in on Wilkins once again. And TJW, who had his spin on the previous lap, has fallen down to 12th place. So that's a bad error from him because he had a really good race up to this point. Matthias going to the outside of Wace as they approach the Mistral chicane and does not get through. Wace is able to stay in front. Now Wace, who was one of those caught up in the first lap incident, has got himself up into 7th place on the road, but he's got a penalty of 8 seconds. Matthias has got 6, and Jamie behind hasn't got any at all. Oh, Matthias has got 3 seconds penalty. My apologies. But the race result is going to look different to what we're seeing on the road right now. So Stephen's beginning to lose ground actually on Wilkins now on his soft compound. And Smithy's gone for another spin. That's the second time he has spun that. So he falls behind TJW. So from being in genuine contention for the race victory, he has fallen down the order, and Storm has gone for another spin as well. He has had another wretched Grand Prix this week. Not having a good season so far is Storm. 6 points to his credit. And Wilkins with another penalty now, so that's 9 seconds worth for Wilkins. So this very much plays into the hands of Fozzibert now, because Fozzibert is only 3 seconds behind him. Now he doesn't need to pass Stephen at the moment because he knows Stephen is going to be ducking into the pits soon, but Fozzibert won't want to be stuck behind him for too long. So can Fozzibert take his second victory of the season and take it away from Wilkins, who is on the brink of losing yet another victory thanks to penalties? So Fozzibert trying to line up Stephen, and Mackie, who's in plumb last at the moment, has had a spin at turn 12 but has continued. He's got the fastest lap point at the moment for those outside the top 10. So Fozzibert right behind Stephen in the battle over second place. Stephen got not too bad of a drive coming out the last turn, but Fozzibert is going to have the DRS. Does he go for it into turn 1? He won't do it from there. And this is going to allow Wilkins to pull further away at the front. And I will say that Stephen's going to be in the pits at the end of this lap for a final set of tyres, which will drop him potentially down to 13th position, I would say. But he's going to be on much fresher tyres than those ahead of him. That's Wace going off track. And he's got a 10-second penalty for corner cutting, and wisely so. Wace has had a shocker of a race, if I'm honest with you. Even though with the safety car helping him coming back together, that mistake through the hotel chicane has got him the penalty that he deserves, if I'm honest with you, because that was a blatant advantage he gained. And Fozzibert getting through on Stephen into second place on the road, which is now effectively the race victory, unless Wilkins can pull out 5 more seconds on the Ferrari in the closing laps. So Jason has also got past Alex Lilliard into 4th position. So Jason's got a penalty though, which is 6 seconds worth. As it stands, he would only lose 2 positions to Alex and Jamie. But let's see if he can pull out a gap actually on the Alfa Romeo as Stephen enters the pits for his final stop. So that will promote Jason up to 3rd place. So 2 Ferraris in the top 3 on the road, but will it remain that way come the checkered flag? So there's Bazza in 6th place, doing a fine job actually. Matthias in 7th, Jamie 8th, and Smithy in 11th place right now in the AlphaTauri. So does Stephen rejoin behind Jess here? I think he will do actually, yes. So that's him down to 13th place, although you don't want to be cutting corners there, mate. Just be patient. Be patient. And he's not been patient at all. I'm pretty sure he'll pick up a warning for that. Will the Williams driver? And Storm back in the pits for Alpine to go on to a set of the soft compound. He's going to try and go for the fastest lap. So Wace is in 5th place on the road now, but that 21-second time penalty is going to drop him back a lot. He'll fall out of the top 12. Unless he can start putting in some blistering laps. He should have more grip in the hards than those on the mediums now, at this stage. So the gap between Wilkins and Fossibert is now 6 seconds, with 6 laps to go. And that's on course to be 2 Alfa Romeos in the top 3 by the end of this race. And Wilkins, oh no, that's not Wilkins, that's Wace going off track and nearly doing the same as what he did so before. That got him that 10-second corner cutting penalty. Won't want to be doing too many of those, otherwise it could result in him being disqualified by the game. So Alex using DRS to close in on Jason. He's going to be too far back though to attempt to make an overtake. Matthias behind Bazza. Can't make the move stick. And TJW on the inside of Joa, actually. Joa goes to the outside. That was a great move there, actually, from the Mercedes to get through. So Joa, who's not had a good race, really, has come up with a good overtake on the Aston Martin, who's fighting back into the slipstream, right round the outside through the turn 11. That was very nearly contact there, but TJW was given enough space to make a move right round the outside. So that was a fantastic move there from the Aston Martin to go up into 9th position. So Stephen going for the fastest lap is in 12th place right now. He's got enough time to catch those ahead of him though. So the gap between Wilkins and Fossibert has increased to 7 seconds. So Wilkins may win this race after all as we watch Alex go to the outside of Jason into turn 1. Jason fends his line. Fends off the Alfa Romeo and stays in 3rd place on the road. Alex doesn't need to do anything silly here, though. As long as he remains within 9 seconds, I think, or is it 6 seconds? It's 6 seconds of Jason. That'll be him going to the podium. So Wace still behind Alex. He's closing on Jason. He's closing, he's closing, he's closing, but he's not closing enough as Jamie pulls alongside Matthias. Bang of wheels there, but Jamie's through. That was a robust but fair manoeuvre there from the McLaren to see Jamie go up into 7th position. Now, with the driver the fastest lap right now is Infamous in 14th place. That's outside the top 10. Those inside the top 10, the fastest lap man is Wilkins. So 21 championship points potentially going his way. That's if he opens up a 9-second margin. He cannot afford to be getting another penalty now. And just looking at the weather at the moment, I'm not expecting to see any rain. I've not seen anything on the weather radar suggesting that it's going to be raining. It's just going to be overcast and cloudy. So it's rather dark actually, the clouds that is. And Smithy's just come into the pits actually for a new front wing. So Stephen moves up a position to 11th. So Smithy has a chance to go for the fastest lap, but he's out of the top 12 point scoring positions. So Jamie behind Bazza as it stands, with the penalties applied. As Wace goes ahead of Alex now. So Alex drops behind the Mercedes. Jamie's not able to get in front of Bazza on this occasion. So Wilkinson's margin over Fossibert has now increased to 8.2 seconds. Just 8 more tenths, and he should be home and dry So Smithy has rejoined in 13th place. And Stephen with a penalty now, that's his first one of the race. That won't affect his race finishing position of 11th. But Wilkins is doing a fascinating job to open up this margin here, despite being on the same tyres as Fozzie Bear is, and with the same tyre age. Incredible effort from Wilkins. If he does win this race, he'll be one of my 2 driver of the days. And in terms of the driver going for the other driver of the day at the moment, could well be Buzzer, because I think Buzzer's had a decent race as well, so that's 2 in the reckoning, although that could change in the final 3 laps. As we watch Alex close in on Wace, as they fight over 4th position as it stands with the penalties applied. Wace's 24 seconds will drop in well and well down the order. No question. He could even fall behind Jess, actually. He's now the only driver in this race to not have a penalty at all. She's in 12th place. So my hot and cold list now. The hot, I'd probably put Josh Wilkins in there in terms of his determination. I've just seen Fozzie Bear been given a penalty as well, so Wilkins is in play now to take this victory after all. So Fozzie Bear has got to close within 6 seconds of him in order to take this victory. The only way that could change is if Wilkins gets another penalty from this race. So 2 laps remaining. And Jason picks up another penalty now for Ferrari. That's bad news for him. As Jamie gets past Bazza, who's gone off the track at turn 2. And that's going to see him fall down the order to 10th now. So after a good race throughout, he has fallen down the order. And someone's gone off in sector 1. It's one of the Red Bulls. It's who's gone off there? It's Indecisive Mackie, who's a lap down on the leaders. So Wilkins on course for victory. His second victory of the season, back-to-back victories, which is going to see him close in on his title rival, Fozzie Bear. The gap was 11 points coming into this round. That's going to come down by 4 points. So it'll be 7 points going into the next round in Singapore. 9 seconds is the gap now on the road, so even if Fozzie Bear didn't have that penalty, Wilkins would be ahead of him once the checker flag is out. Here we go for the final lap then of the race. Wilkins has done an excellent job from pole position. It looked as though when the safety car came out with the likes of Stephen and Smithy in prime position, it looks as though he may not come away with a victory after all. But with this effort he's put in, since the safety car has gone in and he's able to get track position after Smithy has had his spin and Fozzie Bear, of which he overtook, has not put a foot wrong ever since then. It'll be a well-deserved victory for him, no question. So, just looking to see further behind, is there any other battles going on? The closest between Wace and Alex in the fight for 4th place on the road. We expect to see Wace's time penalty dropping, I would say, at least 5 or 6 places down the pecking order. Here's Wilkins then. Determined, strong, persistent, robust, and exciting to watch yet again in One Hub Racing in the Prospect tier. Prospect tier, he performed like he was in the Pinnacle tier. Who knows where he could end up being next season, but in the meantime, he'll be celebrating yet another victory. Josh Wilkins rounds the last corner, onto the pit straight for the last time. He wins the French Grand Prix in the Prospect tier in One Hub Racing. Wilkins takes it here at Paul Ricard. Fozzie Bear will maintain his lead at the top of the driver's standings. He goes He comes home in second place. Jason will drop back behind Alex Elliott, so it's a double podium for Alfa Romeo. So we're just waiting for the drivers to cross over the line. So Jason will be in fourth place for Ferrari. So 2 Ferraris and 2 Alfa Romeos in the top 4. Jamie comes home in 5th, Matthias in 6th, TJW 7th, Joa in 8th, Stephen 9th, Buzzer is in 10th place. I think Jess is too far behind Wace, so Wace should be in 11th. Jess is 12th. And it'll be Smithy, Infamous, Storm, and Mackie running out the finishes. Luke Tourette is the only driver that did not finish the race. The drivers with the fastest lap inside the top 10. It's Stephen actually. So Stephen will take the point away from Wilkins because he finished out inside the top 10. He's the fastest driver out of all those in the top 10. Outside the top 10, that is Storm. No, sorry, it's Infamous who gets it. Oh, it's Smithy, actually. My apologies. It's Smithy who gets the championship points. So Smithy does at least come away with something. Although he could have won the race. But it's Wilkins who takes it. He's the first repeat winner of this season in Prospect 1 Hub Racing. Excellent job from him. So the gap at the top of the championship has come down to 10 points between himself and Fozzie Bear. So there are your drivers then. Josh on the podium, the top step of the podium. With Fozzie Bear next to him. And Alex on the podium for the first time this season. An old Ferrari powered podium. And it's most certainly one which Josh is going to be savouring as he very much stamps his authority that he will be in contention for the title in the races to come. So your final result sees Wilkins as your race winner with Fozzie Bear second, Alex in third place. Jason came home in fourth after his shenanigans at the beginning of the race. Jamie is fifth, Matthias sixth ahead of TJW, Joe at eighth, Stephen ninth, Buzzer in the top 10 for AlphaTauri. Wace was 11th with that massive time penalty of his, so he falls down to 11th place. Jess was 12th, Smithy in 13th and getting a point for the fastest lap outside the top 10. Infamous 14th had a Storm and Indecisive Mackie, no points for them. Luke Tourette was the only driver that did not finish the race. So in terms of the 2 drivers of the day, Wilkins is most definitely one of them for pulling out that margin after the penalty he picked up earlier on in the race. And the other driver I'm going to put as my driver of the day, it's a tough one. It's a tough one indeed. But I think throughout all that, I think we're going to get to Alex Elliott for his mature drive as well. So both Alfa Romeo drivers getting my driver of the day. The question I'm going to give to Josh is yours. Because you must have very much worked hard for it, considering the lifespan on the tyres in comparison to the others. And my question for Alex Elliott is going to be, you were involved in so many other drivers' battles today, considering that some had more time penalties than you did, but how were you able to cope with all that? So that would be my question to Alex. So that is all for today, folks. I mentioned that the Drivers' Championship, 10 points has come down now between Josh Wilkins in the Alfa Romeo and Fozzie Bear in the Ferrari. The next round of the championship will be in Singapore next week, same time next week. Unfortunately, I won't be there due to family commitments, but Owen Wyatt, who would normally be here, will be there for that, so do tune in for then. Do make sure you follow the other tiers as well. There's the points tier next, followed by podium and pinnacle and precision, or precision and pinnacle, I think, in that order anyway. So do make sure you follow them in the YouTube or Twitch channels, and we can't wait to do it all over again this time next week. Thank you for joining us, and we'll do it over again next week. I'm Tom Cairns, and I'll speak to you again soon when One Hub Racing